Let's learn everything about what actually drives fat loss because there's so much information, it's endless amount of information, and we're just going to go to the actual base science of it. So, firstly, there are quite a lot of things that you've heard and they are not really true. Things like carbs make you fat, cardio is the only way to lose fat, detox teas and cleanses flush out fat, and you need a perfect diet. There's so many more, but we're going to touch on the base four in this case, and I'm just going to quickly talk about it, and then we're going to go into depth a little bit more later on. So, carbs make you fat. Carbs necessarily isn't the actual problem, right? So it's not the carbs that make you fat, it's the excessive amount of energy that you're consuming that's causing you to gain fat. So it's not the carbohydrates themselves, it's the excess amount of food. Whether that comes in the form of carbs, that's a whole different topic. But in general, that's not the problem. Cardio is the only way to lose fat. Not true. Cardio is one of the methods and ways to lose fat, but it's not the main or only way. There's so many things that you can do to help yourself lose fat. Cardio isn't one of the main ones, if you want to even say that. Detox teas, cleanses, and things like that, they're going to flush out fat, they're going to help me burn fat and things like that. It's all marketing, it's all just big bucks, big money. There is nothing in there. This is just purely people selling stuff. There's no science behind it. There's no proof around any of those things. This is all just a marketing tool for people to make money, and none of that actually works. Can help you if it works as a placebo, great, but otherwise, not good use of money. You need a perfect diet, not true either. We could talk about 80-20, 90-10, whatever it is. It's about something that you can do consistently for the rest of your life. It's not something that you pick perfectly and do for 2 weeks and then fall off and then everything's back again, or you're back in the same cycle again. So let's go back to zero. Let's sort of scratch off that and just go to the actual base. What even is calorie? And what are we even talking about? So food, every body you take has energy in it. That energy we call calories. So this is just a unit of energy that on labels, on food, you'll always see something that says this many calories or this much protein or whatever it is. So calories is just an energy measure for us just to know how much energy we're actually consuming. And then your body burns that energy throughout the day, whether you're awake, asleep, doing something, doing nothing, it doesn't matter. Your body's constantly burning energy at all times. Your brain, your function, your digestive system, all of these things are constantly burning energy just to keep you alive in this case. So all the energy that you're consuming, it goes into your body uses it to function. So what happens when you eat a little bit more energy than you need, or what happens when you eat less energy? This is where we can talk about fat loss or fat gain in this case. So eat more energy than your body burns, and extra gets stored as fat, and then eat less and your body uses what's stored instead. So three things that can happen if you eat less energy, so you're consuming less calories. And we're not saying that like you have to track calories, you have to track food and things like that. It could be just as simple as like just looking at the portion control, portion sizes of the plates, what foods you're consuming and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean calories and calorie counting is the way. All I'm saying is just that energy, the food itself has energy, and usually for that unit of energy, we use the word calorie. So the less energy you're consuming, then your body is burning just from staying alive. You're going to lose fat. If you're consuming the same exact amount of energy that you need, and you're burning the same exact amount of energy, your body is going to maintain the weight that you're on. And then you're going to gain fat if you consume more than your body actually needs to function or stay alive. So most of the things that happen are not actually even related to you doing the exercise. So where does the energy even go? So number four, 65% is pure function. There is nothing else in there. This is purely you're laying on bed doing absolutely nothing. This is your body, your heart pumping, your body is just functioning. There's nothing else in there. Number three, so that's 20%. This is light movement. So this is where we're talking about your everyday functions, your walks, me fidgeting, moving around. This is just like daily basic movement or like function of the day instead of you just laying and doing nothing. The other 10%, which realistically we're talking 5 to 10% of that energy, could be used for exercise. It's a very, very small percentage of your day that your energy you're going to need energy for in a way. So when people want to try to work out like for, I don't know, 2, 3 hours a day or every day or whatever it is, it's not the exercise. Exercise is such a small little part of that energy. If you're over consuming by 10, 20, 30%, you cannot be working out for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Like it, you just cannot buy that out. So it doesn't work like that. So that's why exercise itself is pretty much one of the least things that can help you with fat loss. There's other benefits to it, but the calorie burning action itself is not that much. And then 5%, we're talking about something like digestive system, something like little things of like little function like chewing food and stuff like that. So being alive burns way more than gym ever will. That's the reality of it. That's the way it goes. Next one. So what actually helps you create deficit in when we're talking about you losing fat? What actually helps? Firstly, there's so many things, but firstly, we're going to talk about protein. So protein keeps you fuller for longer. Protein, when we're talking about protein, we're talking about meaty products, fishy products, dairy products, tofu, things like that for vegetarians. So this is the stuff that has a lot of protein. When you consume protein, it keeps you full for longer. It has so many other benefits like protecting your muscle, helping you recover, your bones, like because all these things like dairy or like meat and stuff, it's like there's a lot of iron, there's a lot of calcium and magnesium and things like that. So they have like a lot of other stuff that helps you in life. But in general, protein will help your fat loss specifically by keeping you fuller for longer. And those foods are usually they have less calories and way more volume as well. Fiber-rich foods fills you up with fewer calories, same exact thing. So fiber-rich stuff, it could be some sort of like grains and beans and kale and things like that. Like they're all great sources. You can fill up the plate quite a lot. So once again, fills you up a little bit more with fewer calories. Strength training builds the muscle that actually burns energy all day. So you are building the muscle. While you're doing strength training, you're actually building those muscle cells. Those muscle cells require energy to stay alive. And muscle cell itself, like if you will, needs a lot more energy than fat cell for it to exist. So that's why the more muscle you have, the more energy naturally, the faster the metabolism, the more energy you are actually burning from staying alive. And as we know, most of the energy that we burn is from us just staying alive, not from exercising. There are obviously so many other benefits to strength training, but this is sort of if we're talking specifically about fat loss, this is the way it helps. Daily steps, one of the easiest levers that you can actually use. Something like going for a walk. We're not talking like thousands and thousands of steps, but if you can have another walk in a day, if you have a walk after dinner, if you add all these little steps at the end of the day, if it's 500 extra every day, that's like thousands at the end of the month, at the end of the week, thousands at the end of the month. That's a lot of steps. That's a lot of extra energy that you've burned from just adding a little walk. And whilst you're walking, you can also not really eat as well, if that helps. Way of thinking about it. And then consistently. So the only thing that actually makes this work is you doing something that you can do consistently for the rest of your life. Right? You don't pick something that you do quick diets, just like doing cardio sessions all the time and things like that. It's the consistent habits that you build that will help you with fat loss overall. That's actually gonna that those habits are actually what's gonna create the deficit and help you lose fat. Next one. So why actually most diets fail, and it has nothing to do with your willpower or your willingness to do the work. Usually the diets are too restrictive. They're cutting out whole foods, they're cutting out carbs, they're cutting out fully like everything. For some people it does work, but most of the people like have other stresses in life, which we'll talk about in a sec. But when those things hit, like your body's almost like reaction is to turn to food a lot of the times. And if we're too restrictive, when bad stuff happens to you, you're just gonna turn straight to food, and from there it's quite a fast loop downwards. So that's why cutting everything at the same time is not a sustainable way of doing it, and that's why you're gonna fail. Whether that's in 2 days or in 2 weeks, it's gonna happen very soon. Not sustainable, once again. So if this is build diet or the fat loss phase or whatever it is, built for 6 weeks or for like a couple of weeks, and it's not real life. Like life doesn't work like that. Things happen all of the time. You have work stress, you have so many things happening to you all the time. And you have to build something that you can sustainably do even when life hits you in the face. So poor habits, the plan changes, but the daily routine never does. This is once again going back into the whole cycle of life happens to you all the time. A new meeting pops up, something happens, something's on fire, you have to fix it. Your habits is what's going to save you and let you come out of that. If you don't build habits and you're just purely relying on like the diets to save you, like you need to build habits to actually be able to do what you're trying to do in this case, which is to lose fat. So build habits around that. Unrealistic expectations. So once again, like it's not once again, we haven't mentioned this, but people are expecting fat loss to just go directly down. 99% of the time, you will not, well, 99.9% of the time, you will not see that. Like we're fluctuating all the time, body weight's fluctuating all the time. It's going to be going like this. As long as the trajectory of that fat loss is going downwards and a healthy fat loss as well. We're talking only 1 to 2 like 1 to 2 pounds, sorry, a week. Like very little. Unless you've got, obviously, the more weight you have to lose, the more drastic that number is going to be. But we cannot talk about any big percentages. We're literally talking 1 to 2 pounds a week. And as long as the trajectory of that average week compared to the other average week is going downwards, you're winning. So let's put it side to side. So the actual myths versus facts. Carbs make you fat has nothing to do with carbs. So the extra energy is what gets you to store more fat, right? Nothing makes you fat. You just store more fat. You have more fat. So it's not carbs specifically. It's just excess amount of calories that you're consuming. So excess amount of energy that's going into this and not enough energy is going out. And that's it. That's all there is. Whether that's carbs, protein, fats, chocolate, whatever you blame, it doesn't matter whichever bit it is. It's not the carbs itself. It's overall energy intake. And these days, with modern diets and modern lifestyles as well, a lot of people have sedentary jobs and things like that. So carbs become like easy accessible food. Carbs, things like potato, pasta, crisps, chocolate, like all these things are very easy to overconsume. Very easy to overconsume. You cannot like eat 3 plates of vegetables, which is gonna be equal to 1 square of chocolate. Like, do you know, like the amount of volume that you can eat from carbs is very easy. And actually vegetables is a carb as well. But is what I'm saying is like it's difficult to overeat on healthier options, and these days our options are very easily accessible to be unhealthy. And marketing and everything else in the world is making us go in that direction as well. The second one is cardio is the only way to lose fat. Absolute myth. Diet and strength training, math too. There's so many methods, so many ways of doing it. But it all is going to come down to energy intake and energy expenditure. How much are you moving versus how much are you consuming? That's all there is really. Whether you do cardio or you do strength training, obviously strength training has a lot of other benefits, but it doesn't really matter what method you pick. Pick whatever you can consistently do and what you actually enjoy doing. Detox teas and cleanses flush out fat. No such thing. Your body already filters itself. There's no tea required or no magic pill to do that. Obviously, when we're talking about things like Mounjaro and injections and things like that, that's slightly different. That's a hunger suppressant. But these things where they're like, it's gonna burn your fat whilst you sleep, that doesn't exist. There's no such thing. If that existed, everybody would be not like having any fat on them because it would be just like this. But it doesn't work. So it is just pure marketing. You need perfect diet. No, you just need a diet that you can actually stick to and feel okay about and do for a long period of time. So what you can do yourself this week would be add a palm-sized portion of protein to every meal. Obviously, all of you are already working on something. And adding a palm-sized portion, or if you're tracking calories and tracking protein specifically with numbers, we're talking 20 to 30 grams of protein per portion that you can add into your diet. Aiming for 8 to 10,000 steps most days. Obviously, this is a long-term goal. If you're hitting 8 to 10K, that's great. But for most of the people, sorry, especially as we spoke about the fact that most of the people have sedentary jobs these days, that's very hard to hit. especially if you can't move in your job and especially if you have meetings where you are face to face and you can't be moving. In those cases, that's quite difficult. So the way to do it that's sustainable and you can consistently do it is by increasing it a little bit from what you have currently. So if I currently walk 3,000 steps a day, let's say, the next week I'm only going to aim for 3,500. And then if that was easy and sustainable, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably go for four, you go for four next week. Four was a bit challenging. Okay, let's keep four for the next week. So you're only increasing it, and gradually you're going to create all these little walks, all these little opportunities for you to add steps. But the more steps you can have, the better. Obviously, if we can get to 8 to 10K, great. But work with what you have and the conditions that you have at the moment in your life. Strength training 2 to 3 times a week. This is great for future, great for your bones, great for your muscles, great for your mind. So many other benefits, but also it is helpful for fat loss as well. Pick one habit above and stay consistent for 7 days straight. Pick a habit that's easy to do. That's the main thing. Pick something that's so easy to do that you're like, if I asked you if you could do it 9 times, like 9 out of 10, how confident you are, your answer should be nine above. If you're so confident you can do it, then add it. Usually, when you're starting to build little habits, you might do like another presentation on the habit building itself, but they need to take less than 2 minutes to do. And then when you're comfortable with the 2 minutes, you start increasing it into, okay, well, maybe instead of me reading like a book a week or a book a month, it's like me just opening a book. Like, you know, it has to be so stupidly simple that there is no way that you're not going to do it. And then from that, you go, okay, next week is just like opening first chapter, reading first sentence, reading first paragraph, reading first page. Like, obviously, you're probably going to get quite interested and start continuing doing it, and you're going to want to do more. But literally, the smallest little thing, and then build on that. So, picking one habit. And staying consistent for 7 days and then build on that, depending on how you felt about that habit that week. So main things that to remember, fat loss, you're just burning more energy than you eat consistently. That's all that happens in the fat loss. Protein, fiber, steps, and strength training make that job easier, make you lose fat easier. You're losing fat easier. Diets fail when they're too strict, not because you lack discipline. They're just so restrictive that you can't cope with anything. And then when life hits you, which it will, eventually, there's always something happening, you will fall off. And then smalling, boring habits beat any perfect plan. You'll quit in 3 weeks. Unfortunately, but it is always about small, boring little things. It does get better, but it is about the boring stuff. As boring as that sounds, it is about the actual boring little things that you do, like a little walk every day, little thing like looking at the protein, having a little bit more veg. Like it's the boring stuff. Like it's very easy to try to sell stuff that's like this. You're gonna take a pill and the life is gonna be magically like perfect. Like you're gonna win a lottery and all of a sudden like you don't have to work a day in your life. Like these things are easy. They're easy to think about there, but it all will come down to the small, boring little habits that you build in your life. So, small, consistent actions create long-term results. That's the whole thing. There's nothing under that. And everything that is being sold to you as something else, that's just marketing somewhere in there. Anyways, have a nice day. This was great. I'll see you all next week. Ciao.